Now, there's lots to talk about, and actually, I really love this section when we talk about teams and motivating people and teamwork and communication, because when you think about those things in the business world, they seem pretty passé, because we do them every day. But really, managers get very strategic with what they do with regards to these three items. Now remember, the number one goal for any company is to increase profits. Now, how do we do that? We talked about the formula for profit, and all of you guys might hopefully remember that. Keep that in your mind forever. It was on the quiz, so hopefully you got that question right. And we're going to talk about some housekeeping and logistics at the end of this video, so stay tuned. Now, the first two concepts that I really want to talk about, and they really don't go too deep in them in the text, is efficiency and effectiveness. You hear these words talked about all the time. Now, what do they really mean? You might say, oh, he's a very efficient manager. Oh, he's a very effective worker. What are those things really mean? Now, here's the secret answer. And the answer is efficiency means resources. How is this manager with regards to resources? Does he waste a lot of resources? Is he doing his job with minimal resources? That's great, okay? And really, when you think about resources, that's what you want. You don't want to spend a lot of resources. You want to try to minimize the use of resources to do your job, okay? For example, my job as a consultant right now, I get monies to do what I need to do, but I don't want to go out there and spend extravagantly, especially if there's not going to be a return. Okay, so the goal is to do more or the same or the expectation with less resources. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit about, I'll give you an example that will help bring these concepts to light. Now, when we talk about effectiveness, we are talking about goals. Is this person hitting their goal? If they're hitting their goal, that means they're effective. Now, can you have a manager that's not efficient but is effective? Of course you can. That's not what you want. Can you have a manager? Do you want a manager that is efficient and effective? Of course you do. So let me give you a quick example. Let's say I work at Toyota and I make trucks. And my boss says, Rob, you have $1 million to make 100 trucks within the month. That's my goal. If I have a manager, a colleague that works next to me, and he spends the $1 million, he makes his 100 trucks, and he hits goal. That's great. He's effective, and yeah, he's efficient. He did it with the amount of monies or resources that he was given. Now remember, guys, we're talking about resources, and I use the example of money here, but it could also be people. Okay, the number of workers you have is also a resource. The amount of software that you have, the amount of machinery that you have is also a resource. Keep that in mind. Now let's say there's a guy that works with me, and he hits goal, he makes his 100 trucks, but yet he only uses $700,000 to make his 100 trucks within the 1 month. So he is effective and he is more efficient because he used less. Now, how does that happen? And that kind of segues into where I'm going to go into next, talking about teams and empowering teams and increasing performance. Now remember, when we motivate people, we have various types of teams. We motivate people, okay, to be what? More productive, right? We want them to work hard. Now, some of you guys on the assignment, we talked about teams, motivation and performance, or empowerment, teamwork and communication. You kind of just regurgitated what you read in the text, or regurgitated something that you may have heard somewhere. And I hope you guys are reading the text. You have to read the text. If you submit work to me and you're not reading the text, I know, okay? I know. So if you're wondering, oh, why did he ding me? It's because I knew you probably didn't read the text too well. But if you really read the text, I wanted examples of empowerment, teamwork, and communication in the workplace because many managers and many companies communicate in very different ways, not only to share information, okay, not only to motivate people, not only to empower people to do their jobs, but at the end of the day, we want to increase performance from our workers. So we want to increase performance so they are more efficient and they are more effective, okay? So for those of you who did provide the examples, thank you very much. If you did not provide examples, I let you know, and I had to ding your assignment. I'm sorry. But, be very careful when you read my assignments, okay? Give me what I'm asking for. Don't make some stuff up and turn that in and think you're gonna be okay. Now, before I get into team performance and how we increase efficiency and effectiveness, let's talk really quick about teams because teams are a very important part of life. We're all part of a team, right? We have our teams at home, our families. We have teams at work, wherever you may work, in the retail business, in the corporate world, in a school district. I'm part of a team, the Southwest Regional team for my consulting company. And so our manager works very hard in allowing us to be self-managed, okay? Now, many of you guys talked about self-managed teams, and some of you may have self-managed teams at where you work. The important takeaway, though, I think sometimes people thought that in order for you to be part of a self-managed team that you have to expend a lot of money and make it this big thing, when really that's not true. You can, have self-managed teams and providing them what they need, empowering them with what they need to do their jobs better and to be efficient and effective. And that could be something as simple as primarily empowering self-managed teams by giving them the responsibility to make their own decisions at work. Now, sometimes, you might think, oh man, we're our own bosses, and that's kind of a great thing because when you solve problems faster, and remember, time is money, especially if you work on a production line, you always want to try to eliminate bottlenecks, okay? We see bottlenecks in the workplace, and that prevents these people over here from doing their work, and then these people are just sitting idle, not being effective because they're just sitting idle waiting for the bottleneck to get cleared up. If you have a self-managed team, then these bottlenecks can get resolved a lot quicker. And that's what we want. We do not want to delay in the productivity of our team or our company because that's going to make us less effective. We're not going to hit goal if we have a huge bottleneck that we cannot overcome. Now, you can also empower teams by just giving them the tools that they need. New machinery, updated software, things like that. All these simple tools day to day that we give our people to help them be more efficient and effective. Now, we do that because we are increasing their ability to perform in the workplace. So one of the goals, the primary goal to increasing team performance, like I said, is increasing efficiency, which means less resources, okay? If you have brand new machinery, could you let some employees go? If you can do the work with less employees and better machinery, yes, you can. Is reducing your workforce going to decrease your overhead? Remember, your overhead is your resources. Yes, it will. Okay? Now, we're not talking about the implications of people losing their jobs here. We're talking about increasing performance and increasing profits. And this is what companies do every single day. You hear about it in the news all the time. Now, one of the things you do have to be concerned about as you try to be efficient is quality. Okay, you never want to jeopardize the quality of your product or the quality of your service, because If that happens, then obviously people are going to realize that, they're going to recognize that, they're going to stop buying the product, and you will see a decrease in revenue, which will eliminate the step forward that you have made with efficiency. So always be careful of quality. You never want that to bring you down either. We also, by increasing team performance, we want to increase our speed, flexibility, and our speed, flexibility, and our innovation. Now, do you think that self-managed teams are faster? Of course they are, because they can make their own decisions. Do they have more flexibility? Yes, of course they do, because they're able to adjust to anything that may be happening in the workplace, and that is flexibility. Also, having the ability to be innovative. Okay, so coming up with new ideas, and that's a great thing about having self-managed team, is that they can implement new things in the workplace that other people aren't doing because they have the power to do so. Now, lastly, and this one's very important, is our responsiveness to customers. Oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how important that is, and how many people and how many companies leave revenue on the table because they are not responsive enough. And people these days, especially these days, don't have patience, man. They don't want to wait around. Okay, they want to know that their rep or their company cares about them. If I have someone who contacts me about a product, currently, right now, I respond to them like that. I don't care if it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I don't care if it's 8 o'clock at night. I'm just going to respond and say, hey, I got your message. I'm going to get back to you first thing in the morning. That's great. Okay, they know that they are on your radar, and that goes miles. Okay, I cannot stress that enough. Once you do all these things, another concept that's not in the book that we'll talk about really quick is when you do these things, companies or businesses build what is called a competitive advantage. A competitive advantage over our other companies that we're competing against. Okay? Competing against. So, remember, self-managed teams are so important. They can be complex, but yet depends how big they are. So we've talked about empowerment and teamwork. Let's lastly talk about communication. There's many ways that companies facilitate communication between their employees, especially nowadays where people are working more remotely. There's intranets, like we have an intranet in my company called Slack that we use. Of course, there's instant messaging, and that's why companies provide their employees phones so they can communicate with their managers and things that are happening. Now, what's the big takeaway here for communication is that you must have the ability, and I put this on some of the comments in your assignments, is that you have to have the ability as a manager to communicate with a diverse group of workers, okay, that are underneath you. You may have tech people, you may have very savvy, smart people who are doing the back-end administrative work. And these are two different types of diverse groups of people that you have to communicate with. Now, your communication style and how you communicate will allow you to be more effective with each group. Now, remember, you're also communicating with people on your own level, peers, and then you're communicating with those that those that manage you. And of course, that is a more formal type of communication. I would say the communication with other managers can be a little less formal, be a little bit more informal, okay? But many types of communication. So not only the way that you're communicating, but what tools you are using to communicate with.